meditation quite soon, so you can turn the line.
Hi folks, how's it going? So very warm welcome here to the Wednesday evening class. So I'm Emily Oden, and we're just going to wait for a few minutes now, allow people to arrive, get you all to say hello, say where you're from, give us a wave in the chat, and we'll get going at about 7 o'clock or a minute past 7 or so. We'll kick off. So yeah, fantastic to have you all here. How many are here with us at the moment?
11.
We got 11 people here, and that's nice. So 11 early starters. That's really good. Hopefully we'll get a few more on top of that. So yeah, I hope you're doing all well. Not the best of weather in the last couple of days, but I've heard there's a heat wave on the way again. So I don't know if a heat wave is good news, but it might be better. Might be better than the weather that we've having now. And of course, the nights are getting shorter. I don't know if people have noticed that already. The nights are getting longer and the days shorter again. So it does feel like it's almost like a time in the year where it just starts to kind of come back into, I don't know, it's like the seasons turn a little bit. I've been noticing that the last few days anyway. So, and it happens so quickly, doesn't it? But we're not out of summer yet. Let's not rush ourselves into autumn or winter too quickly. So yeah, fantastic to have you all here. If anybody saying hello, especially if you're new, say hello in the chat as well. Let us know where you're zooming in from, where you're watching from. And very nice to have new people, and particularly anybody from abroad as well, anybody from overseas. Always fantastic to have you here as well. So do say hello.
We've got 25 people with us at the moment.
Great.
And a few people from London, Mark and Stephanie.
Hey, Mark.
Woodford Green.
Hi, Anne. How's it going?
We've got Danny from India.
Ah, fantastic. Danny, very warm welcome. Is Danny tuning in from India, I wonder?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, great.
It sounds like it.
Brilliant. Oh, very warm welcome to you, Danny.
A few more people from London, Battersea and Greenwich. It's James and Steve.
Great.
We've got Corey Jones from Tennessee, United States.
Nice, from Tennessee. Fantastic. What time is it in Tennessee at the moment? It must be earlier in the day, yeah. It's probably quite warm there as well. I don't think we've had anybody I've not seen anybody from Tennessee tuning in yet, so that's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, great. God. Well, that's really fantastic, folks, and really good to have you all with us here as well. So we're at 7 o'clock now, so I'll say by few words, a little bit of introduction as to what we're going to be doing over the next 4 weeks. So this whole course over the 4 weeks is called Help, I Can't Meditate. A sentiment that some of you might be familiar with. I know it's lots of people come to the Buddhist Center with the sense that I can't meditate. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think what happens when we first start to meditate is sometimes we get into very concentrated states. Other times we're not in concentrated states, and we think it's random. That was my sort of sense of beginning to meditate. It was like sometimes you had good meditations, quote unquote, sometimes you didn't. And it must have been random. It must have been down to the gods as to whether you had a good meditation or not. But over the next 4 weeks, I think what we want to try and do is convince you that it's not all random. It's not random, but it is actually conditioned. When we get into a depth with meditation, it's nearly always because we have certain conditions present that allow us to deepen that particular meditation. And when those conditions aren't present, we can't deepen that meditation. Yeah, it doesn't work. So the conditions or the factors that are required to deepen our meditation are fivefold, and they're called the Five Intensifiers. And that's what we'll be looking at over the next 4 weeks, yeah? So we're going to look at the Five Intensifiers. And particularly this evening, what Subhadramati and myself are going to look at is the first of those intensifiers, the first of the factors leading to deepened meditative states, which is emotional engagement. Yeah. So Subhadramati is going to talk a bit more about emotional engagement in a while. But what we want to do is by the end of these 4 weeks is give you a toolkit whereby in any particular meditation, you can go, okay, I wonder how I'm doing with this. What can I do to deepen this particular meditation? What might be absent? What's needed? What's a little bit weak? What can I strengthen? And we're hoping that at the end of the 4 weeks, then you'll have a basis for looking at standing back from your meditation and going, okay, this is what's required at any particular time. And they will always be the 5 intensifiers, and they're cumulative. So they start and they go, and as you go further through them, you get deeper and deeper and deeper into meditation. So that's the what we'll be doing over the 4 weeks. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll do about a 15-minute meditation now, and then we're going to come back, and then Subhadra is going to talk about this first of the intensifiers, the emotional engagement, the intensifier of emotional engagement. And then we'll have a brief break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have a question and answer session. And then we're going to have a meditation after that again. So if you have any questions, do store them up, think of them, and we'll do our very best to answer them in the question and answers after that. Okay? So why don't we set up in our meditation postures now? Just settling down, getting ourselves comfortable. So we can first bring our awareness down to the points that our body is connected with the floor and the cushion or the chair. Just getting a sense of stability and solidity with the ground. We can bring our awareness to the large muscles of our legs. Just noticing any tension we might be holding there. We often grip the large muscles of our legs habitually without even noticing it. It's just letting go if there's any holding there. And when your mind wanders, don't worry. Just bringing it gradually back to the meditation. You can also just notice where your mind wanders to. Might there be somewhere else a part of you wants to be? Or doing something else? It's just noticing that. And we can bring our awareness up into the gut. Again, first of all, just checking for any holding or gripping of the gut. Relaxing that if that's there. So the gut often has bits of emotional sensation. You can have butterflies or a knot. So just noticing that if there's anything there. Notice the sensation of the breath moving in and out of the gut. And bring your awareness up into the chest and the heart area now. Again, there might be some emotional sensation around that area. So we can often feel anger in the throat, for example. Or we might feel anxiety as a rapid beat of the heart. So keeping our awareness rested on that, if it's noticeable. We can be aware of the breath as well, moving in and out of the chest. We can look to notice if there are, or where there are, experiences of pleasure in the body. This can be very subtle. We're not looking for ecstasy, just small, subtle sensations of pleasure. It might be the touch of your clothes on your skin, your hands touching together. Might be the quiet in the room. So any aspect of your experience that's pleasurable, however small. And including our whole body. in the meditation now. So being aware of the body as a whole. And then relaxing any effort we're making. So just sitting still for a moment. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring the meditation to a close. Okay, so what I'll do now is I'll hand over to Subhadramati and she'll introduce the topic for this evening.
Good. Okay, so I'm Subhadramati. So hello everyone, and thanks very much, Emily Oden, for leading us through such an enjoyable little meditation. So just in case you came a wee bit late, Emily Oden and I are going to be leading a 4-week, well actually we're going to be kicking off, different people will be leading it, a 4-week drop-in course all about meditation. The title of the whole course is Help, I Can't Meditate. So the whole course is going to be just helping us to see, well actually that we can meditate, that anyone with a human mind can meditate. And as Emily Oden was saying, this is a sort of art and a science, yeah? So I'm going to say a little bit about that, and then there'll be a chance for you to ask questions of both of us. I'm just going to lean forward to get my cloak so I don't talk on for too long. Should I put that there? Okay. Yes. So this thing we call meditation is it's an art and a science. It's not, as Emily Oden said, just a random matter. And it's a science because it depends on conditions. It depends on sort of, in a way, external conditions that we set up around us and the internal conditions of our mind, both of which we're going to teach you about over these 4 weeks. And it's an art because we have to apply those conditions kind of with delicacy and intelligence, yeah? So it's an art and a science, this question of meditation. And what we're going to be looking at is, well, very, very ancient teaching, going right back thousands of years to a sort of Buddhist Buddhist, I don't know, school's quite the right word, but anyway, sort of Buddhist school, Buddhist tradition called the Abhidharma. The ancient Abhidharmists just made a real study of the mind, and the mind, in a way, human minds have been the same for thousands of years, really, although we've got different conditions. So we're going to be looking at these 5 intensifiers. And as Amla Yoden said, they're cumulative. We'll be beginning tonight with emotional engagement, and each one sort of flowers or flourishes out of the previous one. So the intensifiers, they won't give the mind its depth. I find this quite exciting, actually, because it shows that, in a way, it shows that our mind isn't just a given. Our mind isn't a sort of thing located somewhere in our head or something like that, and that's just it. It's much more dynamic than that. We can discover more depth to the mind, and in a way, we can create more depth in the mind. The mind is actually not a fixed thing at all. It's unlimited. And the intensifiers, if we practice them, will give it more depth, and they'll keep doing that to an infinite level. There's kind of no end to the depth of the mind. I find it quite thrilling even saying that, actually. There's no end to the depth of the mind. So we're sitting here talking to you, Amla Yoden and I, from the London Buddhist Centre Shrine Room, and behind me is the figure of the Buddha, an enlightened being. You probably know, the Buddha isn't a god or anything like that. It was born an ordinary human being and discovered through his own efforts the infinite depth of the mind. The Buddha mind, the enlightened mind, is a mind that's broken through the sort of inbuilt illusions that kind of come with being a human being. The basic illusion being that there's a real fixed, unchanging me in here and a real fixed, unchanging world out there. The Buddha mind sees all that quite differently, sees that we're, in a way, all part of a great flow. In a way, that's probably simplifying it too much. Anyway, we can come back to that in the questions and answers. But anyway, the basic delusion is broken through. Sometimes I think this is a bit like splitting the atom. It's so sort of dramatic and so sort of unimaginable. Just as, scientists in the last century, before this atom was split, nobody could have imagined such a thing. And then some tremendous energy was unleashed. Sometimes I think of enlightenment like that. Nobody could imagine such a thing. And then the Buddha realized enlightenment, releasing tremendous energy. In a way, a human being, but going beyond how we usually think of as human. So if we want to do that, if we want to discover the sort of unlimited depth of the mind, then in a way we need these intensifiers, because we need an intensity that is superhuman. I hope that excites you. It certainly excites me. And yes, the first of these is emotional engagement. So I think in a way, if you only remember one thing that I'd say this evening, I remember this next thing that I'm going to say, which is that we can't force our energies to be engaged in one thing rather than the other. If we're going to meditate, we have to have emotional engagement. We have to want to meditate, and we have to want our mind to deepen. But we can't force that, yeah? We can't force our energies to be engaged in one thing rather than another. The very, very limited success. On the very, very limited duration if you try and do that. And it'll probably, if you try it in meditation, it'll, I don't know, just give you a headache basically and probably put you off meditation. We have to, in a way, we have to coax our energies. We have to sort of bring all those bits of us, like Amelie Yoden said, that want to be elsewhere. We have to coax them along. And our energies won't be coaxed by bright ideas. Yeah, no matter how bright the ideas are, they won't be coaxed. I mean, I was thinking, well, we all know this very well from New Year's resolution type things. We notice at the Buddhist Center here, every year, you know, loads of people come at the beginning of January. They've all had a great idea. We're going to learn to meditate this year. A few weeks later, that number of people sort of halved, you know. And we all know that sort of thing, that good intentions aren't enough. Bright ideas aren't enough, no matter how good, no matter even how right they are. So what we have to do is we have to, first of all, well, if we want to meditate, but in a way, if we want to live a fulfilling life, a life where we actually act in our own best interests, because we so often don't, I know I so often don't act in my own best interests, is for a start, we have to understand ourselves. And what we particularly, and the sort of when we're talking about these intensifiers and emotional engagement, is we have to understand, well, where our interests actually are. You know, where do we perk up? Where do our energies start to be engaged? And be honest about that. It's very easy. I think it's especially you know, if you're trying to be a meditator, if you're trying to be a Buddhist even, you can be telling yourself all the time, oh, I should be interested in all these Buddhist-y things, I should be interested in all these meditation-y things. It's all very well saying that to yourself, but I mean, if you're not, then that's not going to get you very far. So you have to really understand, well, where are our interests? And then having seen that, then you can start to sort of lead them in a sort of more fulfilling direction. You can educate them. Somebody once told me that the root of the word to educate means to sort of draw out. So again, that's got that flavour of coaxing along. I keep doing this with my hands, don't I? But that's because it's like you're trying to coax everything along. So yes, the first step is to understand ourselves, really see, well, where are our energies, and then coax it along. I was thinking, really kind of simple and quite innocent example in my own life is, I really love bedtime reading. Slightly addicted to bedtime reading. And in a way, I'm probably not going to change that. I mean, all the Buddhist texts all say you should, I don't know, meditate before you go to sleep or chant mantras or whatever. Every now and then I have a little go at that, but actually I just love bedtime reading. So it's as well for me to be honest that that's probably what I'm going to do before I go to sleep. So, but then what I can do is I can just look at, well, what am I reading? And I can either, you know, read some sort of, you know, well-written but slightly page-turner type of book, which is fine. It's not going to do me any harm. Or I can read something that's just a little bit more, a little bit going to lead me more in the direction of a bit more refined state of mind, a bit more, even refined makes it sound too rarefied or something. You know, I can read something that's probably a little bit more demanding, but it's going to make my mind more like the kind of mind that wants to meditate in the morning, rather than something that's slightly sort of dampening the brighter side of my mind. So it's just a tiny example, but I hope that, you know, it's just illustrative of, given that I'm probably not going to give up this, you know, little habit of loving bedtime reading. I just turn it towards something that's going to move me more in the direction of wanting to meditate the next morning, or wanting to write a poem rather than just like, I don't know, turning another page and staying up all night reading the very well written but maybe not so meaningful detective story or something. So we take what we see where our interest is, and just try and sort of nudge that along in the direction that we want to go in. Also, we can sort of do that the other way around. We can coax our energies away from the things that don't serve us best. We can allow ourselves to sort of feel the disenchantment of what doesn't serve our own best interests. I was thinking about this. I was having a very interesting conversation with a few people yesterday, just about this sort of thing. And I was thinking, as I have quite often during this lockdown period, how much I've enjoyed the trees and nature in my local park. I haven't been very far during the lockdown. I live in Bethnal Green. We've got the wonderful Victoria Park nearby in the canal. And that's as far as I've been. And I've absolutely been amazed at the greenness of the trees, the oak trees, and then these weeping willow type trees that are over the canal. You know, they stop me in my tracks in a way that they don't usually, you know. I mean, I've seen many summers in that park, and I've never been so enthralled. And I was trying to think why that was. And I was thinking, well, I think it has been a particularly beautiful spring and summer. I think that is the case. I think we're told that meteorologically speaking, it has been more or less perfect amount of sun and rain. So maybe the leaves are greener and the weeping willows are even more sort of Monet-like. But I was thinking, actually, there's loads of things during this lockdown I've obviously not been doing. I don't lead a wildly jet-setting life, but, you know, for example, I haven't been hanging out in airports, you know, like wandering around that, you know, those things they have in airports that make you go through all those shops and just try and draw your attention. And well, obviously I haven't done that in the last 3 months. And even train stations, I haven't been, you know, I haven't been to Euston Station, kind of that sort of weird atmosphere of train stations that you've got to wait there for ages and you just think, oh, I'll go into this shop or that shop or whatever. I thought, my mind hasn't been filled with those things. So I think there's been more room in my mind just to enjoy something simple like the greenness of the trees. And I thought, oh, actually, even now that we're coming out of lockdown a little bit, I could pay attention to that. I could pay attention with, well, what do I do with my mind when I'm, you know, on an underground train again, or in an airport again, or in a train station again? What am I doing with my mind? Or not just my mind, my body, as I walk into, I don't know, whatever shop or something. And notice that has an effect on me, which I never really quite noticed before until I stopped doing it for a while. And then suddenly the trees are more green, just even in the city park. So yes, we can coax our energies towards what will really enhance our lives. And this operative word being coaxing rather than forcing. And we can coax our energies away from what isn't in our best interest. And that means actually allowing ourselves to feel the disenchantment of that. And then that's going to take intelligence, isn't it? Because we don't want to sort of in a way pitch too high or too low. If we sort of pitch too high, as it were, you know, if I think, okay, I'm going to get up at, I don't know, 5 o'clock in the morning to meditate from now on or whatever, I'm bound to have some sort of kickback effect, yeah? It's just not going to work to sort of, pitch too high in that way. But if you pitch too low, or if I pitch too low, then I don't know, I'll just stay the same. Yeah, I'll just stay the same. I won't discover or even start to move towards this infinite depth of the mind. So that's what I've been talking about so far is our life in general. You might be thinking, well, what's this got to do with meditation? But how we live our life outside meditation has got very much to do with what happens within meditation. In a way, it's more important what happens outside meditation than when we actually sit to meditate. It's something I've realized over the years. But I do want to say a little bit about meditation, and it ties in very much with how Amla Yoden led us in the meditation previously. And that is in meditation, just the importance of finding pleasure in meditation. And later on, after the questions and answers, I'll be leading us in a slightly longer meditation where again we really look for pleasure. And as Amla Yoden said, it's going to be a subtle pleasure. The pleasure meditation is going to be subtle, perhaps more subtle than we're used to thinking of even as pleasure. But if we really do that, it's almost like then, it's like we're almost sort of seducing our energies to get on board, yeah? And the thing about pleasure is it isn't abstract, yeah? It's direct. We experience pleasure directly. So and then this is what we're trying to do in meditation anyway, is experience ourselves directly. So there's a real key here, which we will definitely explore later on in the next meditation. So I hope I've said enough to have stimulated some reflections and some questions from you. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a little 5-minute time if you want to have a little leg stretch, and there might even be time to grab a quick cup of tea if you're at home, but don't go too far because we'll just take 5 minutes. We're going to rearrange ourselves so that both Amla Yoden and I are in view. And then there'll be a time for you to ask any questions about anything in meditation, but it'd be particularly good if you did ask about these intensifiers, and particularly this whole thing about emotional engagement and the key to that being pleasure. Yeah, so think of some questions and I'll see you in 5 minutes. Cool. Okay, good. Welcome back. So I'm Leoda and I are both with you now. So just in case you joined late, I'm Subedrameti and this is Emily Yoden, and we've started a 4-week course called Help, I Can't Meditate. And we're looking at the 5 intensifiers over this course. And we've just been talking about emotional engagement. And I just want to show you this book, which is, can you see that book? I don't know, hard to know where the camera is, but it's called Mind and Harmony. Anyway, and it's from Windhorse Publications, who are doing quite a lot of discounts during lockdown. So if you're interested in this subject, there's lots about the intensifiers. It's excellent, actually, in this book, which I recommend. You can order it from Windhorse Publications. Okay, but now is your chance to ask us some questions. So we've got about 15 minutes or so for questions, then we're going to meditate again. Yeah, so and Ippolit, who's on tech, is going to ask us the questions.
Yes, Catherine is asking whether you had any tips for restlessness during meditation. She said it stops her from getting into deeper states of concentration because she gives up too easily.
Okay, so so what do we do about restlessness and giving up too easily? Any tips on that, Emily Yoden?
Well, I can certainly get. What was the name? The question. Katerina. It's a good question, Katerina. And I think it's very common for people to be restless in meditation. I know I certainly get it as well, particularly after a bit of time, maybe some stiffness or some discomfort has set in, and I think it can be a subtle way that our minds look to put the brakes on getting deeper, can't it? Mm-hmm. Sort of, we'll get that itch that all of a sudden requires itching or a sore leg or whatever it might be. And I think oftentimes with me, it's just my own sort of resistance in wanting, in going deeper into the meditation. It's really, I think this one, I've come down to the conclusion that the solution to this really is just sit still. There's not much more. I don't know if I've come to a better sort of way of putting it to myself than just having to sit still for a bit. I usually find that it settles. Give it a moment of sitting still. We can kind of feel the wave of that energy that comes up that's restless, and then it'll often pass again. I mean, I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, well, almost identical. I think it's great to draw out that our body and mind are reflecting each other. And I think it is about sitting still. And the one thing I'd add is if you can try and think of relaxing into stillness rather than forcing yourself into stillness. So you can almost use that urge to fidget or move as a sort of cue to relax more deeply. So that it's almost like a sense of settling, and then, as Emily Yoden said, if you can do that, it will pass. So you just need to get used to that urge to physically move will pass. But a very, very good question, and it's been asked by meditators right back to the time of the Buddha. The Buddha talked about this, so you're not alone. People over the last 2,500 years have been suffering from restlessness. So good.
So then we have Anne who asks if you could please say more about the process of gathering the energy in meditation.
Do you want to start again?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that people will start to notice as you start to meditate is just how much energy can be in the body, often how much sort of mind-made or psychical energy is in the body, isn't it? I mean, it's what we do, say, when we do Qigong. That's particularly the kind of focus for Qigong. It's mental energy, or those mental kind of currents of energy. So I think what we're looking to do when we're gathering our energies in meditation is first of all, notice energy in the body. Where do we feel energy in the body? I mean, I find I feel a lot of energy that comes from my hands. I notice, say, for example, if I can sit with an awareness of my hands through the meditation, it has a very galvanizing effect on my energy levels. So as we notice our energy, we get more energy sort of comes in, isn't it? And we can kind of like, then you get some momentum in the energy it feels. But noticing where it is in our body. And then also, I think, where we're emotionally engaged, there will be energy as well. And particularly our emotions follow pleasure, don't they?
Yeah.
So if we can notice pleasure in meditation, our emotions will follow with that. And there'll be energy in there as well, I think. And then you'll start to build a momentum in a particular direction. That's my sense, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I really like that when you said our emotions follow pleasure, because they do. Our energies follow pleasure.
Yeah.
And also, as you were talking about Yoda, and I was thinking, well, again, this is a very well put question. Is it Anne who asked the question?
Yeah.
Because I think that idea of gathering the energy is just right. Sometimes, again, using a bit of a scientific sort of image, I think it's the image of a lens rather than the image of a filter. I think I say that because sometimes when people come, especially when people come new to meditation, they think that meditation is a matter of like keeping things out of the mind, like keeping thoughts out, keeping certain feelings and emotions out. And actually, I don't think that's a helpful way to look at meditation at all, is it? And plus, it doesn't actually work. And we don't want to be a person that's like keeping, half our lives outside. So that's the filter image, and that's what we're not trying to do. We're not trying to filter stuff out. It's that we're trying to bring everything in, but almost like we're bringing it through a lens, so it all kind of gathers together. So yeah, I just wanted to say that's good. You put the question in terms of gathering. Yeah, good.
So that links well to our next question. So Kevin says, you talk about coaxing ourselves away from negative energy that might impede our progress in meditation. Is it possible for that energy to be somehow incorporated into our meditation practice?
Okay, so that I'm good. Thanks, because maybe I'll answer this first, Kevin. So I wonder if people can hear the question, or shall I repeat it? So I think the question was about, like Kevin was saying, talking about coaxing energy away from things that impede our progress, but how do we bring that in? Thanks for saying that, Kevin, because maybe I wasn't quite clear enough, so that's good. So I think it's not so much that we're trying to, let's try and see what I mean. We're trying to coax ourselves away from more like activities that take us away from our purpose. So, and I don't know if I even need to enumerate them. So there's the things that might kind of light us up or spark us off, but we know won't help us. In my study group, the other night, someone was saying, oh yeah, I went out and I was drinking at the weekend. And you know what? I just feel like I can't meditate. All week I've been able to meditate. I'm not going to do that again. And actually, the next week she did do it again. She came back, she said, no, really, I'm not going to do it again this time. And it felt more convincing the second time. So it's more coaxing ourselves away from the activities that don't help us. But you're quite right, Kevin. We don't want to lose any of our energy. We want to almost turn that energy, away from those things and find what that energy really wants. There's nothing wrong with the energy. There's nothing wrong with wanting pleasure and fun and excitement and delight. Maybe another way of looking at it is we usually look in places to get those things that are limited or will have a kickback effect or will have a downside, basically. So we're trying to see, what will really give us those things and discover those things. Go on, Emily, you look like you.
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
Yeah.
It's about dramatic. And I particularly liked your first point on this in the first half as well. Say, for example, if we If there's a particular internal energy or mental kind of negative stream to our mind that we're looking to bring in, the first thing that we really have to do is just allow it in, not pretend to ourselves that it's not there, or we're very good people, so we don't do anger, for example. That's not going to bring it in. And then it's not going to be transformed when it's not brought into the meditation. So I think we have to be really clear on where it is our mind does go, not look to bury that, but to look to work with it skillfully by bringing it into awareness and bringing it into the meditation. So literally, it might be to the extent of, if we're feeling angry, feeling the anger, how does that feel in our body? And then we can bring about transforming it as well, I think. So not out of guilt, trying to pretend that something isn't happening that really is for us, I think.
Good.
Next question from David, who asks, how does one deal with repetitive thoughts or patterns during meditation? He speaks especially about songs that may come into our minds.
Okay. Do you want to go for that one? Maybe say the question again.
So David was asking about repetitive thoughts that come into meditation. Particularly, it might be songs, a particular favorite song. That can be very frustrating, can't it, David? I do know the frustration of that. I mean, I think all of us will have repetitive thoughts that come into our meditation over and over again. We have a particular stream down which our mind goes over and over. I sometimes kind of relate to it as the radio channel, our favorite radio channel that we put on all the time. And most of the time, it's not the refined radio channel. It's not classical music. It's something a little bit more crude, shall we say. I think the first thing really is just to notice that. And the more that we notice that, and the more that we coax our mind out into something more creative, the more that we will dig new grooves for our mind, more beneficial grooves for our mind. But I think this thing also that Subhadra was talking about in terms of disenchantment, you can look, okay, when that thought comes in, where does it get me? Is it pleasurable? Does it do me any favors? Does it do the people around me any favors? And then you're starting to build up a level of kind of disillusionment with it, disenchantment with it. Now, it will still take time, I think, but you're starting then to sort of unstitch it, I think. And it is long and slow work, isn't it? It's the work of decades, I think.
Yeah, I think that's really important. You brought that in. You're going to have to do it again and again and again. So you just... you bring your mind back, and then, then you'll notice you're on the song again, or for me, it's the argument that I'm replaying again. And I come back. What I do, in addition to what Amla said, is just come back to my physical experience. So just come back to the sensation of one hand on another, or just soften my face. Anytime you've got a repetitive thought like that, it'll be echoed in the body. Interesting enough, even if it's a pleasurable repetitive thought, there'll actually still be tension in the body. You'll notice your face is slightly tensed up, or your hands. You can just come back and soften your face, soften your hands, and you just need to do that again and again and again. It doesn't matter how many times you do it. The thing is not to get annoyed or impatient with yourself, because what you're doing is you're training the mind. And, when we say mind, we mean like the whole being. That's the important thing, that you don't give up. You just keep patient, persistent, coming back. Yeah.
So you have another question from Steve. He says he was meditating the other day and got annoyed that someone interrupted him to ask for help. And so he was wondering, how do we ensure that meditation itself doesn't become an attachment?
So that's an interesting question. How do we make sure that meditation itself doesn't become an attachment? And then the question was, when you're meditating and someone comes and asks you for help, I think it's really, really good to notice that. To just notice that. To notice the annoyance. And that's funny, I'd probably be annoyed as well, but anyway, I think to the extent we're annoyed, it's our minds become a bit our mind and body aren't relaxed. I think if you were completely relaxed, and I don't think I've achieved this complete relaxation yet, you'd be completely responsive to whatever happened. So I think maybe again, rather than berating ourselves and thinking, oh, meditation is an attachment, just think, oh, I wasn't quite relaxed enough. Relaxed, that wouldn't have bothered me so much. It's good information, isn't it? And just keep working with just softening the mind. Sounds a bit wimpy, doesn't it? I don't mean softening the mind, but I mean just relaxing the body and letting the mind be spacious. And a spacious mind is then ready for anything that life throws at it. I don't know, what do you think?
No, I think that's probably the right way of going about it. Yeah. It will. Those sort of interruptions do annoy, don't they? So
yeah. And maybe again to see it as an opportunity, isn't it? Like, obviously we try and set up the best conditions to meditate. We're lucky here, we're in the shrine room in the Buddhist center. It's pretty quiet, there's no one here apart from us. So you do try and set up the best conditions, do try and set yourself up where you won't be interrupted. But if you are, don't see that as stopping you practicing. You can see that almost as that's an opportunity for more mindfulness, more loving kindness. Let's see, maybe time for one more question, I think.
It's the last question. It's a bit more practical.
Okay.
Oliver asked whether there's certain foods or drinks that are good for meditation.
Okay, so certain foods or drinks are good for meditation. I don't know, actually. They probably are in sort of the ancient texts or so on. Let me think. I mean, some people probably swear by that. I don't go a big deal on that. Oh gosh, what am I going to say? I mean, it's probably good not to eat like a massive meal before you meditate or you're going to be sleepy. I definitely need to have 2 cups of tea in the morning before I even start to meditate, and I'll be sleepy. But that's probably totally the wrong answer. I suppose if you also, I don't drink coffee, but probably don't drink lots of coffee just before. I mean, maybe just avoid extremes of like being really, really drinking something that's very, very stimulating, or eating or drinking something that's going to make you really soporific. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think probably just apply common sense in that one. Usually our mind is affected by what we eat and what we drink and our exercise and our sleep. And are we getting enough relaxation and sunshine and all those sort of things? So do all the things your grandmother advised you to do in terms of eating your vegetables and getting enough rest. And I think that's probably as good as we can do in this area, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Good. Okay, good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to meditate again, and I'm going to lead us through that. And we're really going to be focusing on pleasure. Oh yeah, I wanted to give you some homework as well. So in the week, just look for innocent pleasure and joy. And remember that sometimes that takes a little bit of work. I remember going on retreat once, and the leader of the retreat, he took one look round at us. We were all order members on the retreat, so we should have known better. He was really cross with us, and he said, "Look at the state of you." He said, "You all look exhausted." And he said, "I tell you what's wrong with you lot." He said, "You don't know how to relax properly." And he said, probably what you do is you let yourself get super tired, and then you just go down then you just blow out and go down the path of least resistance. He said, that's not relaxing. You have to actually look for what will really nourish you and give you pleasure. And that's what's relaxing. So look for what's really nourishing, whether it's the beauty of music or trees, and just allow yourself to enjoy that. And actually you'll find that will enhance your meditation. So that's your homework for this week, is to look for joy and pleasure. Okay, so we're going to just change our positions again. So if you get comfortable for meditation. Good, good. So we've dimmed the lights here. So maybe even if you can dim the light on your screen. And if you're sitting on a chair, try and be upright and have your feet flat on the floor and sort of not slumped into the chair. If you're in an armchair, maybe sit a little bit forward so you're not like sagging back into it. And yeah, feet flat on the floor is good. If you're on cushions, you can just sit astride the cushions. And then just closing your eyes. And yeah, we're really going to look for pleasure in this meditation, and that will be felt in the body, and it will be felt subtly. And we're going to use the breath as an anchor. But first of all, as ever, just really feeling the contact of your body with the floor and with the chair or cushions. And just feeling the uprightness of your spine. Your head just poised. And then just see if you can soften your face a little bit more. And see if you can soften your hands a little bit more. And see if you can soften your belly a little bit more. And then just noticing that your body is breathing. You don't have to make any effort to breathe. Your body is just breathing all by itself. All you're doing is paying attention. So you're not thinking about the breath, but just feeling the actual sensations. So just using our breath as an anchor. In this meditation, we're actively looking for any pleasurable sensations. Could be a sensation of the face softening. Or the weight dropping down into the ground. Or the touch of one hand on the other. We'll just keep following the breath. And keep actively looking for pleasurable sensations. And just dwelling with them, allowing them to deepen, enjoying them. Just meditate like this for another 10 minutes or so. Really staying with it. If you can get a sense of the mind gathering around the sensations of the body breathing. Energies gathering. Keep softening the face. Keep actively looking for any subtle pleasure, wherever it is. Not forcing anything. And now starting to let your awareness broaden out. Noticing all the sounds round about. Again, not straining after anything, just letting sounds come to you. And then when you're ready, in your own time, just opening your eyes and bringing the meditation to a close. Okay, so really good, everyone. Well done. Very, very nice to be meditating imaginatively with all of you from all corners of the world. So we're nearly finished for this evening, but I'm just going to hand back to Amla Yoden, who will say a few words and finish off the class. I'll just move out and he'll just move in.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Svajmati. So just to say a few words on closing. I just say a little bit about what the vision for the centre has been, particularly during lockdown, particularly in this period where we've been physically isolated from each other, unable, of course, to come to the centre, and often sort of physically isolated from the people maybe that we'd have regular contact with. I think it's been really important for us here at the centre that we continue to reach out during that time with a vision of community and friendship. And we try to do that as best as we can through the offerings that we do most evenings here, certainly every weekday evening here at the LBC. We really want to continue reaching out to people with a message of friendship, of the Buddha's liberation, the Buddha's enlightenment and liberation. I think people have been, really, really benefiting from that, from talking to people. They've been really benefiting from that. And we want to be able to continue to do that. That's really, really important to us. And of course, the only way that we can do that is with your support. It's you that allowed us to do that, to continue reaching out to people with that vision. And you've been very, very generous in doing that. The people who've donated here to the centre have been very generous in doing so. And we need you to keep doing that. We need you to keep giving. At the moment, as it stands, the centre will lose, after the furlough scheme ends, will lose £10,000 a month. And we really need people to, just to give, just like we look to give here at the centre freely as best as we can. Where people are in a position to, we really appreciate where you're able just to give. So I'd suggest it would be absolutely fantastic if you're able to, in a position to. Hippolyte will have put a link into the chat on a place that you can donate. And if you can give £10, that would be absolutely fantastic. That would really, really help us. So please do consider if you're in a position to do that, and do keep coming back, and hopefully we'll see you over the rest of the week. It's every Wednesday for the next 4 weeks. We'll be continuing this theme of the intensifiers. So we do look forward to seeing you here again next Wednesday with the second of the intensifiers. See you all then, and take care, and look forward to seeing you soon.